Hello, Chick Chatters. Yes, so we are back with episode 7, but this is our part 2, and this is over the gathering of the whole entire cast. It features people from the pods, and they do kind of focus on Carter for a second, and they talk about JP, and he was saying how JP is his Captain America, so he doesn't see why Taylor did not stick around and stay with him, and he seemed to know a lot of details, surprisingly.
At this point, I mean, we're just gonna say it. Maybe a lot of people probably know this already by the time this comes out, but Renee and Carter apparently had an engagement, and we learned that it wasn't just them that had an engagement, that in total there were 7 engagements, but that Renee and Carter were actually followed in addition to all of the couples that we saw that were followed in Mexico. So they actually had 4 couples at first that they followed, and they went as far as to sign up and, take a marriage license for them to fill out, but the marriage license was never returned. And come to find out recently, or almost a year after she took a marriage license out with Carter, she returned a marriage license with somebody else who we found out eventually, I think, if I'm getting this right, that she was dating this person the entire time that she was on Love is Blind, dating Carter and about to marry him. So, holy crap. So many emotions, so many questions, obviously. I'm still really upset that we didn't see the whole storyline. I understand that spoils everything, but let us see the drama go down. I want to see Carter's reaction. Did they make it all the way to a wedding? When did this come out for everybody? I'm shooketh. And I'm also, it's starting to make sense now why there's only 10 episodes in this season, why the meetup at the cast meetup, it was just basically a montage of photos with music playing behind it, because they probably had to cut so much stuff out, and it seems like they're still cutting more and more stuff out. So I don't know. I also don't understand why they had to cut all of this out. Why make the decision to completely cut it out? I don't get that.
They let Uche and Lydia continue on with being exes and all that. So I don't know why they didn't just let us see all this, because it would have made good TV, but they must have just been so mad at her for doing this for fame or clout or whatever.
Yeah.
And they might have been still mad maybe about the Lydia situation. Maybe they were like, all right, we did it once, but we're not doing this again. And they went to the lengths to cut these people out of everything. It just seems like a lot. I wish we would have gotten that story. I think that would have been a very interesting story.
Yeah.
And I think it would have also made the show a little bit more real to me, because now they're showing how people can use the show in a negative way. I mean, they still show her here and there, but they don't give her that much. But you can see at this party, she has a ring on her finger. So she was engaged at that point.
Yeah, and you can tell, I mean, if you go back and watch it for the second time after you know this stuff like we did, that Carter and Renee were a couple. They were sitting all close up next to each other. You can tell Netflix tried to make it so that they weren't always around. But in the shots they were in, they were sitting next to each other. They seemed to know things that not everybody from outside the cast knew about JP and Taylor's situation. So you can tell, go back and watch the last, little bit. You'll be able to tell.
And something obviously must have happened between them and Netflix to make Netflix cut so many things out for them, because they would have been a very interesting couple to follow, even with this whole cheating situation, because she seemed so different than him. He seemed so country and big fish, and maybe that was orchestrated by her to get onto the show, was, oh, look at this weird match, and she was, I don't know, but it is also weird to me that she was cheating on this guy she was dating. So she got to sleep with this other man and be engaged and play house with this other man.
I
That's some
know.
crazy lengths to go to.
I mean, they're going to use her enough to be able to move their storyline along, but yeah, I think it's just the petty coming out of Netflix. I can't imagine any other reason why they would cut out entire episodes at this point. I'm sure they had to have planned for the season to at least be 12, 13, 14 episodes long. That's how long all the last 2 or 3 seasons have been. Yeah, they've really had something against Renee and Carter, and it makes me have something against Netflix because I wanted to see this, and I don't know. I just have hurt feelings. I think you do too. I'm salty.
Yeah. Johnie, she does walk up to the party and Stacy sees her and immediately calls her a joke in the confessional. She is very upset that Johnie, I guess, talked bad about her after the engagement, and she found out before Johnie that they were dating the same person, but she's playing this card of I felt so bad for her. Whatever. I don't know. It was some weird way of trying to seem like she was this bigger person just by feeling sorry for her. I don't know. We get a little bit of an update from Johnie. She says that her and Chris are together, and that's kind of exciting. And I love their story of that they were at the airport and they just kind of somehow knew it was each other.
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing. I wish we could be following that. A little bit. I don't know. I just feel like this would have been a season to follow like everybody. Just see what happened, you know?
I agree.
Apparently they're very official. They've met each other's families and it's going really, really well with them. And she kind of has a little breakdown and she's very grateful for Chris giving her a second chance, which I thought was really sweet of her. But Izzy had other plans.
I think she understands from her perspective where she went wrong with Chris, and she has worked that out with Chris. But yeah, let's just hop right into Izzy and Johnie.
Yeah, Izzy had other plans for Johnny's night. He decided to take her to the side and confront her. And at first I thought this was giving like Kwame, Micah. Like I didn't know if this was going to be a weird conversation where they're flirty and I don't know. At first I'm like, well, this could go either way. But he confronts Johnie about telling him and Chris different things. But I kind of agree with what you said before. I think that both things were true, just she didn't explain it very well. And that's literally what she says to him. After he kind of goes off on his little tangent, she's like, hey, can I talk? And he's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. She's like, well, everything you said is correct. She kind of explains it the way you did, right?
Yeah, she's trying to clarify because he's not wrong, but he's missing pieces. And she's trying to add the pieces, give the context, clarify, and he keeps cutting her off. He's already decided what he wants to think about her, and he doesn't want to hear her explanations because her explanations are valid. She's not sketchy. I think she made some like flip-floppy decisions, and I think she sometimes has an interesting way of making sense of things, but she doesn't have bad intentions. She's not lying to them like because she wants to manipulate people. She's just trying to make sense of her life, and he doesn't want to hear her clarity on that. Obviously he's not going to understand. He just wants to yell at her, and I hate this whole scene. And the first time I watched it, I didn't think it was that bad, and then this time I'm like, Izzy is just like going at her for no reason. It's one thing to say that you think she's sketchy, which she's not. It's another thing to say everybody here thinks you're sketchy. You can't speak for everybody there. And he's drunk. He's drunk again. Like, I'm like, do you have a drinking problem, sir? Like,
yeah,
you just get drunk and you like to berate women and not let them speak. He didn't let Lydia speak either. He kept cutting her off. Let me give you some advice, he said to Lydia. And then
God.
let me give you some advice. He said it to both of them.
Oh, I thought he only said it to Johnny.
I think the way he said it to Lydia was like, well, let me tell you how I dealt with the situation. Same kind of thing, though. Like, you have something to learn from me that I don't think these women really do. But Johnie was so right. She was like, I think we're emotionally volatile. That's what she was attracted to, I think, was that like volatility. But now that they're in person, I think she very much sees clearly like this is bad. It never could be good.
Yeah, when Izzy has the audacity to say like, I will give you some advice, and then Johnny's like, I don't need your advice. And then he's like, everybody thinks you're sketchy. And I'm like, well, that's not advice for one. It's not advice.
And Izzy is wild as hell for this. And then I wrote down a couple of quotes because I thought that this was interesting. Izzy said to Johnie, I'm glad that I didn't end up with you, not because of our connection, but because of everything I've heard about you. So essentially saying our connection was great and fine, and that could have made me happy for the rest of our lives. But the things I've heard from other people, the hearsay and all the things when you're not allowed to clarify that. That's what made me not like you. And her response was, can you realize exactly what you're saying? One, that you're probably still in love with me in some way, which is not good if you're about to get married. That's the way I saw it. And two, that the only problem here is what everyone else is saying. And that has nothing to do with Johnie being sketchy. So she gets up and storms away and calls him bro. They both say good luck. She says, good luck, bro. She's so mad.
That's what I would have said too. You know what? I finally figured out who Johnie looks like. Lana Del Rey. She looks like Lana Del Rey a lot to me.
Little Lana vibes.
Yeah, but Johnny's, you could see she's shaken by this conversation. They both are in different ways. Johnie goes over to Chris and she's very like emotionally shaken. I think she's questioning about the people around her, like if they like her or not, because nobody I've heard at all call her sketchy. So I've never heard this yet. I don't know if this is just coming from Izzy and Stacy. So Chris is very loving and reassuring towards her and tells her that it doesn't really even matter what they think, that, you know, they're together and that's all that matters, that people who know her and love her think the world of her, and that's like the real truth. So yeah, I like that. But then Izzy goes over to Stacy and he takes her aside and he has this like weird over gratefulness for her, like, oh, I love you so much, like, and he's like hyper and like over adrenaline about it. And she's like, dude, you're shaking, like what's wrong with you? And he relays the conversation to her, and Stacy's right in saying like, I don't want you just over here excited about me because you don't like what's going on over there. Don't compare us.
Don't compare the mess. That's what she said. And I don't think that Johnie is a mess, but I totally see what she's saying, because Izzy thinks that she's a mess, and I think Stacy thinks that she's a mess. So I get what she means by that, and it is an icky feeling because he like almost is like, I'm so grateful that I made the right decision. I guess that's reassuring, but it feels weird to hear. So
especially because it's right after that conversation. It'd be different if it was on its own, like later on, but it was right after you were just berating a woman. And I know he was drunk too, so that adds to it. So I mean, he was a little hyper focused on some things. He's like, yeah, I really gave it to her. I railed her, and I'm like, dude, why are you so excited
about making a girl cry? Like, get over yourself.
I know, I was so dumbfounded. I'm like, Izzy, are you good?
Stacy was trying to figure out why he was so excited, like, because he was hyped up, and she's like, well, what's going on? And the only thing he could say was like, well, she called me sketchy. It's like, dude, you started the conversation saying that she was sketchy, and then you doubled down and said that everyone thinks that she's sketchy. So why are you going to sit here and be offended by that and be surprised that she's offended? Like, stop it.
Well, wasn't your real reason that she was telling you and Chris different things? Why don't you just tell Stacy that? Like, that just feels weird to be like, well, she called me sketchy. And it was after he called her sketchy. So it was like, well, yeah, you called her sketchy. So yeah, she's gonna be like, yeah, you're the one that's sketchy. It was a mess.
Uche shows up and Chris yells, hey, we want some Uche. And I thought that was so funny. Poor Uche probably had to hear that every time he walked into a room in the men's pods. And I think that that's so funny. He pretends to give a about the food that's around. He literally walks up and he's like, oh, there's cookies. Hey, Lydia, do you want to talk? That's a weird way to walk into a conversation, but he interrupts Lydia's cookie and she doesn't want to talk. She's like, no, I don't really want to talk, but we probably have to because of production. And they start this conversation. Uche starts off and he is accusing her. He says, the first argument that we had together, I think referring to their history, you weren't honest with me. And Lydia says, neither were you. And Uche's response is, but in that moment, I was being honest to you because I revealed everything to you. I don't like that. That means you weren't being honest. If you had to reveal something and you were being honest in that moment, then that means you were lying at some point. And so who are you, Uche, to yell at Lydia for lying to you? It literally does not matter what the lies were. You lied about something.
He was focused on that lie, right? But he also was focused on Aaliyah's lie in the pod. So it's like, you can't lie to this man, but he can lie to you.
I know. And come to find out, this whole thing because they were super vague at first, but then they finally put some detail into it. And it sounds like what happened was that she caught him in something, whether that was sexting or having sex with somebody or all of the above. She confronted him about it. He lied. She knew he was lying, so she went through his things like any woman would who knows they're being lied to, and then confronted him again where he revealed everything and told the truth because he's such a good guy. And then he says, "Hey, Lydia, how did you know that that's actually what happened? How could you push me so far as to tell you the truth?" And she lied to him about that. She lied about going through his things when she knew she was being lied to. That is his problem right now. And I want to flip a table. How can you be so ridiculous to try to paint Lydia like she's some kind of stalker human who goes through your things when you were probably just cheating on her and she found out? And maybe you thought a relationship because of your weird explanation with Aaliyah, and that's fine. That's all up for interpretation. But that's what happened. And he lied about what he did. You cannot sit here and make Lydia feel like a piece of when you do the same thing.
Also, like, her even looking at all these other stories and stuff could also be explained by, if she thinks he's cheating on her, maybe she's going through and maybe making sure he's not being a weirdo with all these other girls.
Completely.
And especially if he's lied to her before and she's had to get him to reveal this truth before.
She could be looking for Uche in those stories, making sure he's not sneaking around somewhere.
I get it seems unhinged in ways, and you know, it just depends on their true relationship status when a lot of this stuff was going on. We weren't really in their relationship. And it also is weird to me then. So we find out this, but when he talks to Aaliyah the first time, he made it seem like there was no way she could have been going through his stuff. So I don't know. Uche is very all over the place.
So Lydia gets heated about this whole thing, about as heated as I got, basically. And she storms off and she is looking for Milton. And then Milton comes back from the bathroom and all of a sudden Lydia's magically back in the room. So that was some kind of strange editing. And Milton comes in and she says, "Where are you? Or where have you been?" And he's like taking a piss in the urinal, like just no emotion, just straight up like, that's where I was.
I think Milton was also drunk too, you guys, but
I think so. Oh, totally. Yeah. And then Uche asks Milton to leave so that he can basically keep berating Lydia alone in peace without anyone there to stick up for her. And Milton brings out his phone and he starts he's texting to her something. I don't know what. I hope some, like, you know, blink 3 times if you're in danger or something. Yeah. Like, but then he turns and he's like, "Yeah, like, you can talk to her, but we have plans in 10 minutes. So like, wrap this shit up."
You have plans in 10 minutes. That was hilarious to me because it's like, you're at a freaking cast party. What plans you got in 10 minutes?
None, but that was perfect. Like, I just loved that for him.
Because, well, it was obviously like, she's getting out of here in 10 minutes. So
yeah, like, you have a limit to this. You're not going to sit here and berate her in peace for more than 10 minutes. That's what you get. So Lydia agrees to be berated again for 10 more minutes.
It was so funny because Uche's like, "Well, we'll get on to it because, you know, you only got 10 minutes apparently."
I died. You have plans in 10 minutes, so we'll fast forward through the berating process. Like, fast forward through what? You were just going to sit here and make a speech to her about what a creepy creep she is? Like, come on.
And instead of bringing up the real thing I want to know, which is, did she follow him to Love is Blind? He asks her about the Instagram story. So that really upset me too. I'm like, Uche, you had 10 minutes and you knew this was going to blow up in about 2. So, I mean, why didn't you just ask her the real question? Did she follow you here? Did she look through your emails and follow you here?
And that's why I think they did agree to come on the show together, because together, when they're talking to each other, they will not touch that topic. They don't talk around it. They don't talk about it. They don't touch that topic. All he has is his weird receipts, and he's trying to portray her in a certain way. And I think she knows that. And that's why she's just like, no, you're not going to do this to me. No. Because they had a plan, I think, to go on and just go their separate ways, but make sure that they were filmed. And now his marriage went awry and he's out to get Lydia now, make her look like some kind of crazy lady.
He brings up the drive-by tour. He brings up the Instagram stories, but he does not bring up her following him. It's so bizarre.
Lydia puts more context to the drive-by. It sounds like they were talking, maybe texting or on the phone or in the middle of like a couple day long text conversation. I don't know, but she said we were having a conversation and I drove by your house. And I feel like I've done that before, like, or even not having a conversation. Like if I'm in someone's neighborhood, but I don't have time to like stop by, I might like Snapchat driving down the road or something and be like, I'm in your place. Or I don't know.
The quote was, oh, like, I can see you or something like that. I mean, I guess I would probably like say something stupid like that too if I was just like taking a picture of someone's house, like, oh, I can see you. Like she probably couldn't actually see him from driving through the courtyard, you know?
Right. And let's be real, he wasn't scared in that moment. He acts like it was such a creepy thing that like freaked him out. It sounds like he still talked to her after that. Like you weren't freaked out. You're just using this as an excuse.
Now I wonder if Aaliyah saying in the beginning that this could have been her following him planted that in his head, that it could have been her following him, because at first he did not agree with her. So
True. Almost like he went back and like rethought it out.
It reminds me of when Chris Watts was like when he was being interrogated by the police and they were like, did she kill the kid?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then you had to kill her. And he's like, yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened.
With Lydia and Uche, we just don't know.
Yeah.
All theories are welcome. Drop them in the comments. I mean, let us know your thoughts. This is strange.
She's walking out of this conversation and she's going to find Milton, but Uche already found him and they're about to go have a conversation. So we're gonna go see how that plays out on the next episode. We haven't watched them yet, but
there's also a big thing right before, before Lydia storms off for the second time and tells him he needs his personality checked, which he does, I think. But before she storms off, she says, like, don't make me bring up, the sexing thing. And then it shows her in a confessional and she says and confirms what it sounded like they were talking about earlier, talking around, that Uche was sexting girls and I think slept with somebody while she thought they were dating. I know Uche has a different idea of when they were dating, but she feels like she was cheated on. And I'm just like, you judged Aaliyah so much for all of this. Even if you're in a situationship, an entanglement, whatever, like take some ownership if you were like effing around on her. Like it's okay. You're not dating anymore, but don't judge people. So I just know that this is all him. Like he's making all these women feel bad for their own mistakes and he's over here just acting a complete fool. I cannot stand him. So yeah, she hops up after that and she says, this is the last time you will see my face. And she's like, Milton. And then, we see Milton's already scooped up by Uche. Like, let me have a chat with you.
So one thing that I noticed about this whole entire cast party, if Uche and Aaliyah were seeing each other, why didn't he come with Aaliyah, or why wasn't Aaliyah at the cast party? Because we didn't see her there. We did not see Taylor and JP there. So I'm assuming Taylor and JP, it was just like too much too soon. They weren't going to go back to that right now. But
I think Netflix wanted to end the Aaliyah and Uche story. And so Aaliyah probably just wasn't invited to the cast party, but Uche still had drama to play out with Lydia with his stupid receipts that turned out to be BS. I think if he didn't have those receipts, he wouldn't be on that episode either. He would be done, which again shows like Uche is here for clout as well. Or he would not have showed up to there just to berate her about some BS screenshots that are explainable.
Right. Like at this point, even if she says she followed him there or whatever, what's it going to do? Like she's engaged now to another man and he's in a supposed relationship with another person. So, I mean, what's going to this cast party to yell out about it unless Netflix put you up to it? Or I don't know. I just don't know anymore because I just feel so lied to after the other couples and all this other information coming out.
I know. Like I have all these strong emotions about Uche and who knows, like they could all be wrong because of editing. Like nobody really knows what the real truth is. But right now I'm very mad at Uche and I hope that Milton him up in this conversation. Uche is over here like, let me have a talk with you so I can tell you about your woman 14 days before you're about to marry her. Let me show you these BS screenshots that are explainable and so vanilla. I hope Milton just goes in on him and then walks away. I can't.
And well, he could have already had a conversation with Milton when they were in the pods together after Lydia had told him. So I don't know. I just feel like it's weird to now have to talk to drunk Milton about what's going on. I don't think anybody's in the state for this. I think they're all drunk besides maybe Uche right now because he just got there and decided to
stir it up. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's it for this episode 7, the second part, and we will see you on the next episode soon.
Bye, Chick Chatters.
Bye,